Well, welcome to week 7 of our Make the Shift series, and congratulations, you have made it to the last week. Give yourselves a hand. You are extraordinary. Good job. Way to hang in there through the end. This week's focus in our Make the Shift series, as we wrap up, is the shift from me to we. And in the sermon, I started out by talking about blind spots. So if you've got any blind spot stories, maybe talking about a literal blind spot in your car and a situation that came up because of that, or even a situation where you encountered your own mental blind spot or another person's, or an emotional blind spot, or something like that. If you have any stories that you feel comfortable sharing, then maybe you want to share those as you get started. Or if you'd rather, the starting out questions in your growth group guide, they're really good too, and so you might want to go to them and start out there. But those would be some suggestions for how you might start out your time together. I suggested that a major blind spot, maybe the major blind spot in our culture today, is around the subject of individualism. And I wonder if you struggle with that idea at all. In America, we've been taught that individualism is a good thing. It's me, pulling myself up by my bootstraps. It's me being independent, and that's a good thing. And certainly the idea of personal responsibility is a good thing. But what I'm wondering is, can we take that too far? For we who follow Christ, do we take this idea of individualism too far? And so that might be something that you as a group want to discuss. Is individualism, the way we've been taught to think about it, always a good thing? And then my big idea in the sermon was I looked at how Jesus makes us a part of we. In other words, we're not just individual Christians living our own lives. We are part of we. We are part of the church universal. We are part of Christ's body in the world. We're part of God's family. We are a we. And I suggested that one picture for that is that of a potluck, where everybody brings what they have together, and they share the goodness of what they have. And anybody can participate. Anyone's welcome. Anyone can just come and share what they've got and enjoy the time together. So we are a we is really the big idea. And then I suggested 3 practices that will make us a better we if we want to be more engaged as part of God's family, as part of the church. What makes us a better we? And I suggested 3 things that may not come to the forefront of your mind initially, and yet they can be so helpful. The first one was serving together. And so maybe your group would want to talk about ways that you all could serve together, or if not that, ways that you could encourage each other in your individual serving of your neighbors, your coworkers, of others in the church, or whatever. So serving together was number 1. Number 2 was confessing together. Now, if your group is new to each other, or really even if you're not new to each other, the idea of confession might be a difficult one. Of me being willing to open myself up enough to a group of people to talk about my sins, my struggles, that can be tough. And so I certainly don't want to put anyone on the spot and have group confession here for anyone that's not ready for that. But a good question, more general question, would just be, what does it take to create the kind of culture where confession can happen in a group, in a church, in a relationship? What does it take for confession to become a reality where we can be vulnerable with each other in that kind of a way? And then the third suggestion that I made for making us a better we was eating together. And there's a good chance that your growth group is already working on that and makes that a part of your meetings, but maybe you want to talk about how you could do that more intentionally. So those are 3 practices to make us a better we. And then if you get into the study guide, and particularly the passages from Philippians, you'll find that Paul talks there about some things that make it hard for us to be a good we. And in particular, when you get to chapter 4, I find it just fascinating that amidst this letter to the church in Philippi in the first century, and we don't know how many people were part of that church, but anyway, he's writing a letter to the whole church, and in the midst of it, he calls out these 2 women by name who are having trouble getting along. Made me think, what would it look like if we added a section to our church prayer list where we name people in conflict so that we can be praying for them? Now, maybe that's not such a good idea, but, for us to be willing to acknowledge conflict, to name it, and to see it for what it is, and to really work hard at working through it when it comes up is really significant. So that's some of what you'll get into in Philippians. And then as you close, you'll want to talk about the future of your group if you haven't yet, particularly if your group just started to meet this fall. Is this something that you want to continue, or that some of you want to continue looking into the new year following the holidays? So that's something that you'll want to talk about. And then at the end of the study guide questions, there are a few verses that it suggests that you read and then use those as a way to pray if people feel led to do that. And I think that'd be a great way to close. Well, I just want to say in closing, thank you so much for participating in this growth group journey over these last 7 weeks. I really hope that it's been worthwhile for you. And I'd just like to take this opportunity to give a shout out to my growth group. I've had a lot of fun sharing with you over this time, and I would, speaking for myself, I'd love to see this continue in the future, but I'm sure that's something that we'll talk about together. So thank you all for participating together over these weeks. I hope it's been great, and I hope you have a super final session here. Thanks.